members of the media, members of the viewing public, Trinidad and Tobago, good afternoon. Welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Weekly Media Brief. My name is Michael Jackman, Assistant Superintendent of Police Acting, Corporate Communications Unit, and Public Information Officer for the TTPS. This afternoon, Commissioner of Police Gary Griffith will be here to address you on the use of force policy and other topics which are in the public domain. Commissioner Griffith.
Thank you very much. Members of the media, good afternoon. I'd just like to spend a few minutes just to clarify certain matters. And it has to do firstly with the pending minimum use of force policy and pertaining to rights of citizens. Now, the minimum use of force policy, this is something we would have seen incidents that would have taken place over the last few weeks at the University of the West Indies, and more recently, an incident involving a maxi taxi and a police officer. Now, I would just like to clarify the concept of the minimum use of force policy. This minimum use of force policy, it's a system that is used for law enforcement agencies to ensure that the minimum use of force would be incorporated by the law enforcement officer based on the threat. If the threat escalates, that force policy would be increased. It will be intensified. This is used to ensure the safety of the police officer and even that of the possible suspect. The minimum use of force policy, it has changed worldwide, whereby probably decades ago, pain compliant was a method that was used as a more effective tool to try to suppress individuals if it is that they were to be held. What is used now will be not methods like that, but you use systems from firstly verbal persuasion, then you go to the radio to ensure that you can have immediate backup, and then after you move to other systems such as pepper spray, tasers, rubber bullets, and the firearm being the last system. Without the other systems, at times the police officer, we would have seen in the past where they would have resorted to going into using the firearm. Now that we have the minimum use of force policy, I was quite shocked by certain persons questioning comments that I made on the minimum use of force, whereby the pepper spray and tasers can be something that can be used on persons if they resist arrest. So I would ask persons to really consider a scenario where persons break the law, they resist arrest. What do you expect the police officer to use? And this is something that is done worldwide. So if persons try to question the rationale behind it, without the pepper spray and the taser, at times the police officer may have actually gone into the ultimate concept, which will be that of the firearm. And I do not want to deal specifically with the UE matter, but just for information, I met with the students at the University of the West Indies, and I apologize for what transpired, because it was very unfortunate. But I want to clarify something. For too long for years now, we have seen in this country where persons feel that every time they need to have a box drain repaired, they need to have a road repaired, they need to have extra lights in their community, they felt that the best avenue to deal with this is to block the roads, burn tires, and to prevent other citizens from having their rights. Now, it is easy for persons to say it is their democratic right. It is not. It is your democratic right to protest. And the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will provide all of the support that you will need. We will provide the security. I will provide the approval for you to protest. But you must protest within the law. You cannot block a road, and then when you block a road, you will then try to persuade you not to do something and explain that you are breaking the law. And then if and when you are held, you resist arrest. What next would we expect the police service to do? And going back to the same persons who criticized the police service for what happened at the University of the West Indies, just say a few days after, if a situation may arise of a similar nature in places such as Beetham, Sealots, Malik, Lavantil, or other places, and we had done the same thing, would the same persons who criticized the police service, would they have stated otherwise? And ladies and gentlemen, that is not democracy. That is hypocrisy. The fact of the matter is what I am doing now is to put an end to this situation of a virtual lawless society when anyone at any time feel that they can burn tires and block roads. It has to stop, because this goes to the part of the broken window theory. We continue to speak and tell the police service, why are you harassing us, deal with the true criminal elements. But we have to check ourselves. And this is what I'm asking the public. Crime begins with checking yourself, looking in the mirror, and trying to say, well, listen, if I am indirectly aiding and abetting and condoning criminal activity, what is my contribution to it? And we can, apart from the situation at the University of the West Indies, we can also refer to a situation that took place where persons, by thousands, they were actually sending messages on social media telling people that we should block the roads at strategic points to shut down the country. And then when you realize that you are breaking the law, you then state that, well, listen, I am just sending a message. When you send a message, you take ownership. Now, again, I wish to add that it is your democratic right. I am not stating for persons that it is your right to protest. But what I am humbly asking and pleading with the public, the days of blocking roads and burning bridges and feel that you have a right to protest to infringe on the rights of others and their freedom of movement, it has to stop. Because there can very well be a day when these things are done and you may very well have a parent that you need to get to the hospital or you have to pick up your children in school and for hours they are waiting. How do you think? It cannot be that your rights are so important that you can infringe on the rights of others. And with that, I'd just like to clarify that concept of the minimum use of force policy. The minimum use of force policy would be enforced because I think it is very unfortunate where we have picked up a situation now whereby persons will break the law and they feel that they can resist arrest. And again, I go back to international standards. Most of the citizens in this country who have resisted arrest by police officers and feel that they can say what they want and disrespect police officers, when they leave our shores and they go anywhere in North America or Europe, before the police officer finishes his sentence, they have already complied. My concept is to comply and then complain, because the same way that you have seen how I have operated, dealing with overtime, dealing with rogue police officers, or having support of police officers being arrested if they break the law, I'll be the first to condemn and to remove any police officer who disrespects the uniform. But in the same manner, I'll be there to support my troops. And we cannot have this situation to continue where we feel that it is our right to break the law and to confront police officers and to resist. And then when we resist, if and when pepper spray is used, which is not a pain-compliant method, but a method to ensure that you could stop being involved in trying to confront yourself with the police officer so that we can actually go to the station. And then through the police complaint authority, through the commissioner of police, if it is that something was done in a wrong manner, it will be dealt with. So I hope that can just clarify the matters with minimum use of force policy. In the situation, again, just final on that point, the situation recently with the flooding, anyone who could have questioned the performance of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, it is unfortunate, that's all I could say. I think the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, they excelled, they performed above and beyond the call of duty. It reached a point where I mentioned that the hundreds of police officers who they lost a lot and they still came out to duty. People on social media now condemn me for actually bringing them out in the first place. Well, that is good. I prefer to be condemned by asking police officers to come out and do what is required, and they did it with pride. And that shows the standard of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We were able to use the operational command center where we were able to get an immediate link with real-time information being fed to the divisional command centers to update them of what was happening. They were feeding information back to the operational command center. And with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service at the headquarters, we were actually pumping information to the public in real time, never seen before. To the point of which I think most of you all would have seen on all your mobile phones, be it digital or be mobile, that you are actually getting text messages from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service updating you as to what was taking place. And this is what I'm talking about, real-time information being fed. So you're getting this real-time information. You saw how the police service operated, how we dealt with matters immediately. We were updating the public almost on an hourly basis. And yet on social media, the focus was on one police officer, not the thousands who performed, but one police officer involved in a situation with a maxi taxi. That became the public interest. But again, just to close on this matter with minimum use of force, many persons love to press record on incidents in part 2 of a situation and not part 1. Let me clarify part 1. Part 1, that police officer told the maxi taxi driver not to go in a certain direction because it was blocked off. As soon as the police officer turned his back, the driver drove off, ignored the police officer, disrespected the police officer, broke the law, and drove 200 meters past where the police officer was. So yes, the police officer was frustrated. Yes, he could have operated it in a more professional manner. But the fact of the matter is, check ourselves. And the individuals in the maxi taxi had the audacity to be basically saying that we should confront the police officer. But they were fearful of doing it because of what the police did at the University of the West Indies. I do not want to instill fear as a mechanism for persons to adhere to the law, to law and order. I expect respect. And respect is earned and not won. The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service will earn that respect. But I ask you all also to have respect for police officers. When they speak and they say something, do not disregard it. That is what is causing the problem. Just some two other quick points. I wish to state that come Friday, there will be the launch of the Emergency Response Patrol, which will have over 85 vehicles strategically placed around the country. And when, hopefully the media, you would be there at that launch. I think the Minister of National Security would be doing the feature address. And what you will be seeing is technology at its finest, whereby we will have systems to measure performance, make the police officers accountable, ensure you will have real-time response, a rapid response, a high visibility, and a heavy deterrent. This will be just one of many mechanisms you will see in the very near future of policies being used towards the modernization and the transformation of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. I wish to also take this opportunity to commend the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service for how they have operated over the last few weeks. We continue to ridicule the police officers or persons in uniform. In the last few weeks, there was a situation with the earthquake. I think we have seen how the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service operated to ensure in situations of a natural or man-made disaster, that is when persons will probably take the opportunity to take advantage of distressed citizens. During the period of the earthquake, during the day of rest and relaxation, during the situation and the plan to shut down the country through blocking the roads, and also the floods. And I can go on and on. I can go to the point that over the last few months, there were 5 persons of reported kidnappings. 5. All 5 returned to their loved ones without a cent being paid to the kidnappers. And we can go on. The fact of the matter is that we have a long way to go, but we are getting there. The concern that I also had, just to close off, of the situation whereby police officers, my final point of police officers, whereby many of them, the 266 police officers have been affected by the flood, and I have made a decision. It is a command decision. I have also spoken to the Welfare Association on it. Persons may not be pleased with the decision I have made. They may call me Scrooge, but the fact of the matter is that the needs of the few would outweigh the needs of the many enjoying themselves from a social capacity. And that has to do with the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. We usually have annual Christmas events for all members of the police service, usually 3 Christmas events in North, South, and Tobago, and Diwali celebrations. This amounts to almost $1 million. I have decided that we will forego these events this year because I think it is more critical that the funds that can be utilized towards these events that we have lasted a few hours should be in the hands of the police officers who have been affected by the floods. Some of them have lost everything. Taking that $1 million and dividing it by, I think there are about 50 out of that 266 that have lost that have lost a lot. And I intend to utilize the funds towards assisting our fellow police officers to lift them back up in these very trying times. So I just wanted to clarify that matter and to actually just to explain the concept of minimum use of force policy and the rights of citizens, and asking if it is we can have that built-in relationship between the public and the police service. If we work together as a team, we can move this country forward.